Welcome to the stage, Curtis Kastner.
So there I was in a hotel ballroom for a weekend workshop on relationships with 100 other people, but I was alone. Because I just broke up with my girlfriend 3 days earlier, I'm sitting there wondering, what does this have to do with me? During a break, I stepped outside, and as I'm looking out over San Diego Bay, my big insight hit me. I'm a man that brings out the worst in women. Now, eventually, I asked myself the question, is there a way to bring out the best in women? So I asked a female friend of mine that question, and her answer was, Curtis, just go be yourself. So I'm like, look, I already know that doesn't work. So that she then goes, well, I don't know what else to tell you. So I said, I'm going to go find out. And I did. That declaration turned into a quest of doing over 2,000 interviews with women and years of research to find the answer. And along the way, you could say I learned a few things. Psychology professor Dr. Ellen Burscheid and her colleague Sarah Myers conducted a study to find out what words people use to describe being in love, which is distinct from love. Now, why is that? Well, it's because people love lots of things, like pizza, puppies, and their kids. But they're only in love with their romantic partner, which is what this study was about. Now, here's what's interesting. 86% of the respondents used only 2 words to describe being in love: lust and like. So let's talk about lust, the first word for being in love. So lust is a hardwired sexual desire that drives people to mate, and is also called attraction, chemistry, or falling in love. Now here's the thing. For as long as human beings have walked the earth, people have lusted for their type, which begs the question, what qualities do we lust for in a mate? Well, psychologist Dr. David Buss did a study with 10,000 individuals across 37 very different cultures around the world, ranging from first world countries to hunter-gatherer tribes. And he found that in every culture, men lust for women with clear skin, bright eyes, shiny hair, and curvy hourglass figures, which are all signs of fertility. Now, he also found that in every culture, women care less about a man's looks and more about his material resources and his social status, his ability to provide security, regardless of her own wealth or income potential. So our hardwired sexual urges of lust are a trade of fertility for security, all because our biology is trying to point out the best match for making babies. So we just covered what lust has to do with being in love. So let's move on to like, the second word. Like ensures longevity and success and happiness of a relationship over time and can also be called quality friendship. So Dr. Thomas Berndt at Purdue University studies how liking develops and discovered it has 3 parts to it: kindness, fairness, and loyalty. So kindness is showing support when our partner shares his or her successes or struggles with us. Fairness is about having an equal balance of kindness towards both partners. And loyalty is about being steadfast and trustworthy, and is often in marital vows, like in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, until death do us part. So here's the thing. Lust brings us together, and liking keeps us together, which explains why my girlfriend and I broke up. Once the lust that brought us together began to wear off, she didn't like me enough to stay together. Now, you could say that in marriages, the difference between lust and liking is the divorce rate. In fact, Dr. Tai Tashiro says as much in his book, The Science of Happily Ever After. Now, here's the thing. Even though lust is everywhere in our culture, if we want happy, enduring relationships, it would actually make sense to pay more attention to liking, wouldn't it? Now, in my own research, I discovered the key for a man to ensure a happy, enduring relationship with his partner. This key dramatically affects a woman's experience of that liking we were just talking about: kindness, fairness, and loyalty. Would you like to know what it is? Yeah. Sure. So during my 2,000 plus interviews with women, I discovered 2 questions that run in the back of their minds. Do I feel safe, and do I feel loved? So let's start with the first question. Do I feel safe? So this question applies to every man in a woman's life, even her romantic partner and those she's been around since birth, like her father and her brothers. It's common for men to think safety only includes things like providing food and shelter and physically protecting women from wild animals, other men, or Mother Nature, right? However, women constantly scan for safety, not just with the men in front of them, but also men on the other end of a phone call, email, text message, or Facebook post. What I discovered is that women monitor their physical safety and also their mental and emotional safety all at the same time. And according to the women I interviewed, mental safety can be defined as having the freedom to fully express one's thoughts and opinions without fear of criticism or judgment. Emotional safety is having the freedom to feel and express a full range of emotions, like worry, sadness, and anger, without that same fear of criticism or judgment. Now, I used to squash women's opinions and shut down their emotions because they weren't logical. Now, that's just two of the many ways I made women feel unsafe. No wonder why I brought out the worst in women, right? So when a woman feels unsafe around any man, she can't trust him. And she will protect herself from him using whatever means necessary, like criticism, shutting down, or even withholding sex from her partner. That used to happen to me. It gets better. So during my interviews with women, when they complained about their relationships, I noticed their primary frustration was that they didn't feel fully safe as women around their partner, which led me to wonder, what are we doing as men that cause women to feel unsafe, even unintentionally, and what can we proactively do to have women feel safer around us? Now, the answers to those questions were so profound that I wrote an entire book about it. And while writing the book, the biggest surprise was discovering how much a man's relationships with other men determines his effectiveness at providing safety for women. But let's move on to the second question. Do I feel loved? Now, this question only applies to the men that matter to that particular woman. So, obviously her romantic partner, duh, but also like her family members and friends, and some men at work and in her community. Now, from the women I interviewed, I found out their definition of feeling loved includes 5 things: feeling liked, seen, honored, respected, and free to be their authentic self, all at the same time. Now, however, if a woman feels unsafe as she defines it, she has zero capacity to feel loved by her partner, regardless of how great he is as a protector and provider. So how are her 2 questions and that lust-like spectrum of being in love related? Well, lust includes physical safety, resources, and survival. Liking includes mental safety, emotional safety, and feeling loved. Why is that? Well, it's because according to the women I've interviewed, a big part of liking in their world, kindness, fairness, and loyalty, has to do with how safe they feel as women around their partner. So men, if you want to have a consistently happy woman in your life, you need to do your part to have her feel safe as she defines it. So all of this is great, but you might be wondering, Curtis, does this stuff even work? Well, here's a story for you. So I was at a barbecue, and in walks my type. My type, right? 5'9", blonde hair, blue eyes, stunning. Her name is Linda. She's sitting right over there. Now, as we started talking, I discovered we had a lot in common. However, Linda did not lust after me. Okay? Linda was very successful and looking to date with someone with more success than me. I was not that. She was also looking to date someone 6'4" and built like an NFL quarterback. Look at me. Clearly, I am not that. She was confirming Dr. Buss's research about women's preferences for security. But I'd also been doing my own research for years about what makes women feel safe, so I just applied what I had already learned. So we became friends, and because Linda felt safe around me as she defines it, she eventually developed feelings for me a few months later. So in her world, that was a problem, because that wasn't supposed to happen. So now what is she going to do? Now, she had no proof that she was going to be happy long-term with her type because she never felt truly safe around those men. Was Linda willing to trade her happiness with me for what she lusted for in a mate? Only she could decide that for herself. On her birthday, she gave herself the gift of me and asked me to be her boyfriend. Ta-da! Yeah. So right after I said yes, Linda told me, Curtis, I knew it was possible to be happy, but I never knew it was possible to be this happy. So in the end, liking prevailed over lust because safety was the key that unlocked Linda's happiness. And the growing list of men who now have much happier women in their lives would tell you that it can work for you too. Thank you.